Carlisle Barracks, home to the U.S. Army War College, has a vast and incredible history. Initially built in 1757 as a British fort and later becoming a U.S. Army war base after the Revolutionary War. During the 19th and 20th century, Carlisle Barracks was home to the Carlisle Indian School, where one of the greatest athletes of the 20th century, Jim Thorpe, was taught. Today, the U.S. Army War College can be found at Carlisle Barracks, where some of the smartest military officers from around the world come to learn. However, on March 19, 2002, this prestigious military installation was rocked when a lieutenant colonel murdered his wife on base. In this documentary, we will discuss the first ever murder in Carlisle Barracks and its effects on the community. Lieutenant Colonel David Bartlett was a research analyst for the Center for Strategic Leadership at the Army War College. He had worked for Carlisle Barracks since 1999 and was a respected officer in the college. His wife, Suzanne Bartlett, was a stay-at-home mother who was an active member of the community, mainly volunteering at her church. They were a typical military family, a husband and a wife with 2 young kids, and appeared to have achieved the American dream. That is, until the fateful day, March 19, 2002, when an argument broke out between David and his wife, which resulted in him beating his wife with a pestle and choked her using electrical wire. He then hid her body in the Letort Creek, which runs through the base. The next day, she was reported missing and a base-wide search was conducted. She was found in the creek and her husband was presumed to be the main suspect and was arrested. This event was so unsuspected and shocked the small, close-knit military community.
My name is Lori Echeverria, and my husband was stationed at the War College, so we were living on post at the time in 2002.
Okay. What was your relationship with Suzanne Bartlett?
She was my friend and running partner and mentor a lot. We were good friends.
So she was older than you?
We were the same age,
Okay.
but she gave me some great advice about parenting. She had 3 children at the time. I only had 2, and I was expecting my third when I met her. And she told me all about and she had 2 daughters and a son, and I was having a son, and I had 2 daughters. So she gave me great advice about how to manage a 3rd child.
Okay. What were you doing when you heard that she was killed? Do you remember?
Well, this probably gives you more information than you need. Susie and I were running partners, and every morning we ran together, but we had this code that if it was pouring, we didn't run because we ran at 6, so we didn't want to call each other's homes and wake everybody up. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, and it's pouring, so we're not running, so I went back to bed for a little bit before I woke the kids up, and I got a phone call from her husband that asked if Susie was with me. And I said, no, it's raining. We don't run in the rain. And so then he proceeded to tell me that she didn't come home from a walk last night, and he was just hoping that she was with me. So that was my first experience with knowing my friend, something happened to her. And I was shocked, and I hope that they didn't do something to her.
Did you expect that the husband would be the killer because of that?
I didn't. We were friendly. He and my husband knew each other. He'd been to my house. We did things together. I'd been with him socially, so I considered him a friend too. But that just something that came into my mind as soon as he said something about his voice over the phone, and it was just some weird feeling I got. It was very strange.
So you wouldn't have thought anything like this would have happened.
No. And when I did find out it was him, I was devastated because I went right over there after I got dressed to see if I could help with his children and with him and comfort too. And I spent an hour at his house that morning um, with him, comforting him, hugging him that morning. And so I did not expect it.
I understand. What would you say the atmosphere of the entire post was, like the community? How were they feeling when they found out something this horrible happened?
Well, for sure, everybody didn't believe it. They were all, because they were both very active in the community. He was well regarded post in his job, and they were very visible with soccer. He coached soccer, the little kids soccer program, and she was always a volunteer as well. She was a volunteer in the chapel. Um, she was very active with like the senior tea, and so everybody was very surprised and shocked. Nobody expected it, and then after that, it just got to be where people just wanted to kind of forget about it, like put it on their minds because they just didn't know how to deal with it.
Do you think that was the right action for them to do, to just forget about it?
No, a core group of us, we were not wanting to forget about it. She was a runner, so we wanted to do some kind of memorial run or something for her memory because she was such a presence there. So we did gather up money. We actually got money from support of the community as well. We reached out because she was involved in the school. There's a plaque in the Bel Air school dedicated to her. There's a rose garden in her church where she was very active in her church and with the children. There's a rose garden at St. Paul's or St. John's Lutheran Church in town. And then the local merchants, they helped us raise money, so we dedicated a bench to her. That's in the
Last
park.
question is, do you still feel the effects of the murder today?
Sure, I do. I am very aware of domestic violence. It affected me personally too. I was very concerned about how my relationship would be whenever my husband and I would have conflict. Still kind of comes up when I see it, when I see kids. I'm always aware of it. Plus, I stay in touch with Susie's children through her sister that raises them. So I'm very aware that they are without their parents, and this is something that affects, especially being in school, something that affects school, friendships. I miss her. Every March, I remember her and that horrible day. I don't forget it. So, sure.